In this talk, I'm going to explain what are the benefits of using API platforms and put them in front of your APIs so you can reinforce security around your backend and prevent uninvited guests to reaching your data. So let's go to the problem. First, we're going to talk about APIs internal. There are benefits behind using APIs, although they have been around for quite a long time. It has been around the last decade that companies have been ramping up the use of them because there are business enablers. You can expose your backend in tiny tidbits, so you are now more visible. Your products reach farther audiences around the world, and of course, revenues can be increased by doing this. So additional benefits of APIs, they are simplifying the communication, and instead of using monolithic applications, you can break them down into little pieces and expose them in a variety of clients. Of course, systems can communicate with each other with a common contract, a common language. They don't need to know what the software behind is. You define protocol and some contract, and they start talking applications to applications. Of course, you have now a diverse array of client applications that are now accessing your backend. You can use web applications, either if there are first-party or third-party web applications. You can use Internet of Things. Who doesn't have an Alexa at home? Or maybe even toasters are Internet of Things nowadays. They can also interact with APIs. You can have also, of course, mobile devices communicating through the applications, mobile native applications. And then you have server-to-server communication, which a lot of businesses use, which is third-party to third-party. It's just overall, no human interaction is involved. And you can, these communications come inbound, they consume you, and they can also go the other way around. You are consuming others. This is very important. Keep this in mind. Of course, if you are migrating in between protocols, can I ask who is maybe using SOAP protocols here? Are there any users still in the ground? 1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands? Yes, some of them. It's a very antique protocol, but I mean, it's still being used. And maybe you want to migrate, but you have a ton of legacy web services, and you're not fast enough to move it to REST or whatever you need. There you have other protocols like gRPC or GraphQL. Depending on the use case, you might want to be using one or another. Maybe you can put an abstraction layer using the API and do some protocol transformation, so you can move slower. And with the API platforms, you have these benefits. But of course, nothing is perfect. I said a diverse client applications can access your backend. Yes, and this is the ones that you think you control, but there are also uninvited guests that are coming through, most of them. I mean, maybe some 10, 15 years ago, doing one operation maybe involved a lot of human interaction, and if you maybe came from a single point, like the monoliths, a web application or maybe a phone call or an email, now it's applications talking to applications, and in the worst case scenario, nobody's looking. You have observability tools, but not everyone uses them properly, or I mean, we just had a talk at 9 about observability, which was very good. Let me tell you about some risks that you can find specifically for API security. I don't know if you know, OWASP is the Open Web Application Security Project. They dedicate their life, there's a big community that they are raising in security awareness. They even have a whole framework for mobile security. I really recommend you to look at it. And they have this also, a lot of projects, but they have this list that they put together a ranking, every 2 or 3 years of threats that are APIs or web applications or mobile applications, or now they have the AI list as well. The ones that have happened that same year, and at the end of the year, they update the list, and maybe The last one was from 2019. So 2023 saw the last version, and then moving them up and down, or maybe mixing them together just after analyzing what has been happening around in the market. So the first 5 are mostly, except the fourth one, are mostly about something that is always like the first victim, broken authentication and broken authorization. I mean, up and down the chain from the first request hits your servers until the data is out, or the other way around, someone is not validating who enters and what they can do. And then you have the unrestricted and restricted resource consumption that if you are maybe more familiar with DDoS attacks or service abuse, or maybe like I'm doing everything and I'm not leaving anything for the rest of the consumers. Then you have like other not least important. I mean, they are in the top 10, but number 10 is something that I think is also very neglected when you are consuming third-party applications. You have to mind what you're getting back, even how you're handling your redirections. And that happens in the web application, but also with the APIs. Maybe you get these responses, and you need to carefully look where they are trying to redirect you, because an attack can come that way, or maybe in the content you get back from your request. So I'm going to get to this, back to this later on in the examples. So, okay, what happens when we don't really look for API security on the design phase? The security architects may call it threat modeling, when you lay down your design of your product and you go through every step of the design and try to locate what the threats are, and you decide if it's worth to work on a mitigation on the design phase before actually start coding this project. So, okay, let me present you with the 0-day loop of hell, where we have development teams that they are trying to put the code out, they are pushed by the business. I need to hit the market, I need to do it now, I cannot wait, you know, I need to sell, so you can eat, you developer. Yes, but I have the security team, they're bashing me. They need to put every security control in between, and they won't let me deliver to production if this product is not meeting our security posture controls. So, of course, the security teams are feeling this pressure. They're becoming a bottleneck because they may delay releasing something in the production environment if they think you're not passing the security scans, you're not passing the security controls, I don't want you to go like this. And then, of course, we are all pressured because every other day a new security threat arises. I mean, the minute the code hits the production environment, it's becoming obsolete, and it's piling up technical debt, the one that you also left behind you because you were moving fast to put your code in production, and the new one you are acquiring since you are there. So, yeah, it's a headache. But why am I telling you this? Let me introduce myself. I'm Barbara Teruggi. I'm from Allianz Technology, Iberolatam. I work for a regional hub. We provide with all the IT platform for the Allianz Insurance Group. I work for certain countries. And I help defining security blueprints, I define standards, I design and implement security mechanisms, and I mean to enhance product security. I try to look at whatever could be improved and try to build a process for it. And I also work a lot with third-party integrations because there are some regular cases, and then you have like the unicorn that you have to look better before just doing the standard thing. And some of these also become standards then. So, of course, I always trying to raise awareness between my colleagues. I'm always eating their brains with security topics, I think. Yeah, but they still put up with me, so thank you. Some of them are here, actually. I'm also a proud music addict. I had even a band like a gazillion years ago. So if this talking thing doesn't work, I can sing you a song. Uh, yes, I'm also an amateur rock climber. This is my debugging place where I go to decompress. I mean, I'm going to do this very same thing tomorrow morning. I need it. But I'm also a professional overthinker. I mean, this is a part of what made me apply to this job, accidentally, actually. And this very talk kept me awake a lot of nights, thinking how I can put it better, how can I explain it so you understand what I'm trying to send to you. Okay, so enough of me. Let's work about a concept I like a lot to explain. I mean, I will do it briefly. I don't have 10 talks to explain everything. The difference in that strategy, I like to think it as an onion. When you have layers and layers and layers and layers of security controls, so you can slow down an attacker, or if you're lucky, you are going to prevent them from reaching your data, which is the thing that you are actually the victim, the first victim. So this is overall, you have like a lot of tools, a lot of toys you can play with, but this is like recent synthetic version of what defense in that strategy would look like from the API perspective. Okay, on the top side you have the consumers, you have the web applications. They can be yours, or they can be from third-party web applications. And in the left side of the web applications, you have the CDN. At some point, you may control the narrative if you are uploading the static content to your first-party application. Okay, I know what I'm uploading, and I'm preventing supply chain attack. We are going to have a talk at 6 p.m. today in this very track. But sometimes you don't control, and maybe that is poisoned code also. It's not only receiving some attacks from people that are intercepting the calls or whatever. Then you have the Internet of Things, which I already mentioned. You have third parties. I put in a certificate because we like to do MTLS communications when we are talking server to server. This is the use of client certificates, and you are also exposing a certificate from your side, and it's a mutual trust system. It reinforces a lot this security posture. So then you have, of course, user devices with mobile native applications. You have the application stores there, like the most known ones. And again, maybe you control the narrative if it's one application that you are putting there, or maybe not, because there is another mobile application. Like, I love to listen to Spotify, and Spotify may connect to other applications to share my songs, Facebook, or, well, Facebook not, but Twitter or Instagram, if you have whatever social media. And they are going to, but I don't control it. I haven't built the mobile phone for a mobile application for Spotify. Then, of course, you have this big friend here that should be up and down the chain, the watchdog, the observability tools. You have to use them carefully, and you have to really think. I'm sorry, I had to quote you, Henry. You have to know what is observable, what is not observable, and you need to have like X array of the requests all the way down or all the way up if you are the one that is the client in this case, okay? And then you have, my friends, the authentication and authorization tools, whatever you may have. You may have an identity provider, yours, or you're using an identity provider from somebody else, or you may have an authorization server, or even legacy libraries reaching a database and asking for user permissions. I don't know, whatever flavor you have. Then you have the web application firewall. I will briefly talk about this because how many people here know what a WAF is? Nice, but I see some hands that need the tiny explanation. So that slide is not wasted. So the API management platform, which is the friend I'm going to talk about you today, which has a set of features that you can see them separated, but they put them together for you to have like God mode, where you operate a second layer, a second very necessary granular layer of the entrance inbound and outbound connections through APIs specifically. So then you have the network firewall, okay? This is always there. It's controlling traffic, and it's also doing their normal thing. And then you have your applications. You can have on-premise, you can have cloud, you can have whatever. You have your load balancers deciding what instances you are going to enter, everything. And then you have the gold of your company, because companies are all about data, most of them. I mean, at the end, you are accountable for what lies here, because it's my data, it's your data, it's anybody's data, and you need to care about it. So let's move on. So what is a WAF? Too long didn't read. It's a specialized firewall for web applications. It's the first shield between the internet and our realm, our service. It's exposed on the outer edge of the network. It's exposed directly to the internet. Those are where all the requests are coming through. And it's in the application layer. In the OSI model, it will be layer 7. I'm not going to enter to the OSI model, but I planted a QR for you if you want to extend the information. And then I'm going to push the slides to the internet, so don't forget if I'm flying over the slides. OK, so it protects web service filtering, monitoring, and blocking malicious HTTP and HTTPS traffic. And when properly configured, it helps prevent SQL attack injections, cross-site scripting, HTTP protocol violations, and all that. As a bonus, they also, some of them, or most of them, are including OWASP top 10 mitigations capabilities. And I mean, there are WAFs that do that with web application threats, but they are like WAP, which is like another version of the WAFs that also include API-specific risks. It's really nice to have one of these, because you have both mechanisms combined. You have more information if we want to extend on both things I've been explaining here. But I mean, you say, I have a WAF. If it can do marvelous, so why do I need API platforms? Yeah, I mean, no, it falls short in some places. And you shouldn't put that much responsibility in a WAF when you are talking about granularity. You are exposing different APIs, and each API have their own security requirements. I mean, it's not the same if you are putting an API, I don't know, you are doing a campaign and you want to sell a lot. This API will need like a wide traffic rate limiting, You need to have like at certain hours, you need everybody to be capable entering. And then you may have like, OK, I'm selling tickets, but I'm going to have a lot of consumers, but I need to rate limits which type of web sites are going to actually use my platform to buy the tickets, And I need to limit that, because maybe they are going to abuse, and one platform is going to get all the tickets, and the other one is going to be left with none. So different cases, So what I'm telling you, this rate limits is not one size fits all. You need to carefully define what your API needs. Authorization and pre-authorization, I mean, certain levels of pre-authorization and a lot of authentication processes are best decided at API level, and the API platforms can serve these capabilities for you. The payload also, I mean, WAFs also examine payloads, but they have like limits, and they're not going to know if one API is expecting JSON, not XML, and the other one is going to expect a big JSON, and the other one like smaller thing, and you don't have that capability, and shouldn't burden the WAF with this, because it gets slower. So, Of course, attribute-based allow lists can be managed in bulk. I mean, you're blocking or allowing a certain IP, but maybe this IP you are allowing in, it's entitled to go to certain APIs, not all of them, so that you can control with an API platform. And then there is the settings in the WAFs that are the open-close settings. When somebody goes wrong, some WAFs are configured to let all the traffic flow. So there goes your shield. Goodbye. If something is happening to the WAF and it decides to allow all traffic, or maybe if you have the other configuration, it closes down all the traffic, and then maybe you wouldn't need this, so you decide to configure like having hybrid configurations. This part of the network is going to remain open, and this one is going to close, shut down every connection. But for this one that you let in the traffic go in, you need something else. You wouldn't want them to hit your endpoint, your server, and maybe, I mean, yeah, how do you control DDoS? You have other tools, but I mean, maybe having something in the middle that still stops the second hit, you know? So, okay, what are API managements? I've been blabbering a lot of the benefits, and now I have to explain you what they are. Okay, so let me show you some examples of products. There's another one missing here, which is Quadrant, that I learned about like a few days ago. I will put them on the slides, and I will upload them to the slide deck. Of course, there are a lot of features in the API platforms. You have like an API gateway feature to centralize and route and secure the API traffic, but this API gateway is like a very, very, very smart reverse proxy, and you can use a set of rules and protocols to protect. Here's when you can customize all these controls with a lot of rules you can apply, and you're not going to burden it unless you are doing business code there. You shouldn't do that. But you can filter this codes in a very granular way, so you decide what goes through and what not. Okay. To help this, you have also an interface for developers to do service discovery. You can document your APIs. You can put how they work, how to test them. You can also build products, configurations, and assign consumers to your APIs. You can use, I took a lot of advantages. It's normally used for monetizing, but you can also apply a lot of security using this specific part, because you can control your consumers, how much are they going to consume your APIs, and where they can go. You can manage up to 3 levels of pre-authorization before letting them go to the endpoint with their token or whatever authentication piece you are managing for them. Okay, so of course you have the monitoring feature, so you can plug your observability tools here and collect the traffic, analyze it, and then take decisions, and of course detect any anomalies if your APIs are being misused or you fall short on any control. And you can control the life cycle of an API. This is a good place to also have this governance applied, when you know when to version, when to deprecate an API, when to retire. You can test it, you can deploy it. Of course, all of these also, they have the CLI, but you can also have an API to automate all these operations. So how would I use this platform? And this is where I'm trying to get creative to apply these security controls. First, I'm going to tell a story that all of you already know, because you're sitting here. Is what happens at tech conferences. Okay, so please let me recover this list that I talked about in the beginning, the OWASP list, and I'm going to specifically address 3 of these threats, which I found very convenient. First, the broken authentication. This is a no-brainer. You can control who is accessing your APIs using the platform. And then you can go to 3 levels of pre-authorizations. I've been saying this for a while. The broken function level authorization is the where can I go? I mean, what resources can I consume, okay? And also, in which capability, because if you think of RESTful, you have like, I don't know, a customer, but what you can do to the customer? Can you get the data? Can you create a customer? Can you modify a customer? So you can so much of control these three levels. And then you have the unsafe consumption of APIs. I really like to put this into relevance because, as I told you, you're not only being consumed, you also consume other third-party applications, and you would like to take care of that. So in this analogy, we are all the same, third parties. So when I came yesterday to register, I went to the front desk. I said, OK, I'm Barbara. I'm a speaker. I flashed my ID, and then they validated, and they gave me my badge here. And you did all the same, depending on which type of consumer you are. OK, you are consuming the tech conference. And OK, so they gave me my badge. My badge is, in this case, the cardboard is an API key. It's greenish. It classifies me. What am I? They already know who am I because they called the front desk is the API gateway. Okay, they asked for my ID, and they did a checkup to the registration features, which it would be the authentication part. And then they assigned me a badge. So now everybody sees me around, and now I'm a speaker, okay? So the control room are the security people that were at the door. Is indeed this very morning I forgot to put this on, and I was just barging in, and I say, wait, please identify yourself, show that you have a session here. Yes, okay, I'm still authenticated. I could go here for 2 days. That would be my token, maybe. So I'm talking about third parties here, but if you are curious about single-page application security, you can also use API Manager for this. This is a QR code you have, and you can. I'm going to upload this, so you can also read about this. It's very complex. I would need another talk for this. So, okay, moving on, we had the broken function level authorization. Once I have been ID'd, I've been classified on what I am, and I have an access token that I can use for further calls. Okay, the first level is the what, okay, with this badge. This will be an API key, which is not a credential. It's not a credential, actually. It's something that the third parties have like this consumer key in order to show in subsequent requests to the API what they are, what type of consumer they are, okay? So this helps determine a lot of different authorization levels onwards. Okay, of course, as I told, there are not credentials because they're normally fixed values and they're manually rotated, but they should be treated as credentials. Don't give it away on the code, just put it somewhere safe if you are sharing them with the third parties. Then I told you already that they are useful for tracking them. You can also use for tracking them all around the globe. That's one way of tracking them. And you can apply security policies attached to these API keys, okay? So the next level you can control is where I can go. As a speaker, I can go to the exhibition hall. I can go to the conference room. Go. I didn't say what I can do. I'm just going. If there is a workshop room, I can go there. We have a speaker's room. I can also go there. But I cannot enter any private area with only the staff that is in red can go. I cannot go there. They wouldn't let me in. So then you have this translated to the API management world are the API proxies, where you expose your backend services, which have a lot. If we're talking REST, we have a lot of endpoints, okay, on your API, and you are exposing them. And so you are telling me, okay, I can see potentially the content of these APIs and the resources that are in these APIs. This is the second level of pre-authorization I can manage. You define an API product. Normally, a lot of these platforms call it API product, okay, where you can combine different API proxies, different backends that are part of this product. Maybe you want to put like a service, a full service that you can buy a ticket, and you have the profile that you are building because you're registering as a user, your payment methods, whatever. That's another API. And then you have the actual selection of the tickets you are purchasing and the cart, sorry. And then you actually go and pay, and then they may be calling another third party that is producing the payment website, you know. So this can be a full product, okay, configuration. And of course, they can include also input and output validation. You can validate some parameters. You can validate headers, what the request looks like. So you can decide in the API proxy with these security policies, you can decide if this consumer is going to pass through or you're going to block them, okay, because it's not meeting the criteria. The first is they need to have the API keys to go there. If I go to this private room, as I'm green and not red, they're not going to let me in. They're not going to look anything else. That's the first thing they're going to look. And the third level you can control, and using the API product capabilities as well, is what I can do once I reach those proxies. You can filter, you can decide, I'm exposing the whole API proxy and all the resources and all the methods that you have here, or not. Or because you are, I'm a registered customer, but maybe I can search my data and update some data, but not all of them, but I won't be able to delete myself, or well, I have to delegate that on a different thing. So in this analogy, of course, what I can do as a speaker, I can give a conference or I can give a workshop, but I cannot manage a stand. I'm not an exhibitor, and I cannot manage the schedule. I cannot manage the event. I cannot manage the location, and I can do all general access actions, okay? So this is where you let me go, potentially, because let's see that I can give a conference, but which conference? I mean, there are other speakers here in the room, and they are not giving my conference, so they might want to ensure that I'm entitled to give, the slides are mine, the conference is mine, and not impersonating myself. That is better determined at application level. When you reach the endpoint, you might face, that's another capability that you shouldn't delegate to API managers. Normally, you can, but it's putting a lot of burden you don't need, but you can, in maybe critical aspects. Of course, protected resources will require maybe better reinforcement of the authentication, like re-authenticating. If you are like doing a transfer, you're already at your bank account, and they're asking for an additional password or whatever method of, say, you are entitled to do these transfers. So to sum up this part, so these three levels that we are controlling here with the API management platform is what I am, okay, where I can go, and what I can do, potentially. I like to underline this because it doesn't mean that when I reach the endpoint, I will be actually capable of doing so. So, I mean, when I said you need to apply security up and down the chain, I said up and down the chain, even in your resources, okay? You have to apply zero trust. I mean, don't trust yourself with so much as a password. I mean, you need to monitor traffic, you need to apply every kind of security control you are capable of applying just to ensure that nobody unwanted will reach your data. So the last one, but not least, is unsafe consumption of APIs. So you are here in my conference. By now, you can figure out I talk too much. Yes, I'm Argentinian, so that comes with my DNA. And you're doing okay. You came here, it's 10 a.m. in the morning. You came with your coffee. Your provisions are your coffee, your croissant, your whatever you want to eat, or nothing, because there are people that don't like to have breakfast. But your brain is capable of absorbing a certain amount of information, okay? And you would like to go and see other talks today, not only mine. But thank you for being here. So everything is okay, but you came without a plan. You didn't realize I was talking too much, and at a certain point, I start making nonsense, and I'm like, start second-guessing myself. I'm very nervous. I don't know what to say, you know, or maybe I just go, and what do I say? Like now, you know, I'm searching for the word, and you're not getting anything I'm saying now, you know. So maybe you're trying to follow me, and you can't. So your brain goes away. Your provisions are drained. You consume everything, and maybe you could get out of this talk and say, I better go home and leave it for today. But if you come with a plan, which is the API platform here, okay, you say, I'm going to take decisions based on what the message she's delivering to me is. If I start making nonsense, you said, okay, I can start looking at my cell phone, I can walk away, I can use my laptop, or I can just stare at the nothingness and wait for the time to be over so I can get out of here. So how this translates to the API management world? Okay, first thing, when you receive a response from an API you are consuming, you might want to validate the expected format. You might validate that you don't have a code injection attack attempt. I know the WAF is there, but maybe the WAF has failed and it's letting traffic go through. So revalidate here, and also revalidate at the endpoint as well. You know, in the resource, you have to do it all over again. Redundancy is always a good thing here. It's good. I mean, code redundancy, maybe not, but in this case, security redundancy is the best thing, the best option. And of course, you can do like JSON or XML protection if you are expecting one of these responses in your payload. And here is where you can become granular. What size, what scheme, how many depth levels you can have here, and whatever is not fitting your requirements, go by. Okay? Of course, you can have other controls. You should have other controls. Avoid blindly following redirections, because you might get a 300 whatever message, which is the redirection message of some type. I mean, some attacker can be replacing the redirection URL. And are you okay? Thank you. They might be impersonating, and they may be changing this redirection URL, and they are going to get you elsewhere. And if you don't control that, I don't know where you're going to end up. Okay, so you can have an allow list of known locations. If you find that it is not in your allow list, I'm not following this redirect. Okay. Of course, timeout and reconnection you can also control, because if this call is taking part of a longer process, you don't want to delay the rest of the chain. You might want to be a circuit breaker for this and say, okay, I give the response back to my backend, and I deliver the message to the user, whomever they might be. Okay? And then the rate limit controls, of course, they apply here at some points, because if you are paying for these API calls, some APIs are monetizing, so you need to be careful, because you don't want them to have a huge bill waiting for you. If you're not controlling, your backend keeps calling because, I don't know, I'm going to try it like 15 times. Maybe it works at the 51st time, so I don't know. Just rate limit that as well. Okay, so final advice. Some best practices to avoid API risks or whatever risk anyway. Of course, authentication and authorization first. Please ensure you know who or what is entering your premises and what they can do, and control them all the way until they reach your data. And then apply API governance. You have to know what are you exposing to the internet, who is consuming it, what the life cycle is, when to retire something, and when it needs a revision to see if it's still meeting the appropriate security controls. As I told you, the code gets rapidly obsolete outside, so maybe new threats arise, and you need to you need to know your landscape so you can apply the additional security measures if you need. Threat modeling should happen on the design phase, but I also like to think that if your code has stayed like there for a while in the production environment, there's no harm in reassessing these products and see if we need to rethink our security controls, okay? Infrastructure security, of course, because some of these attacks can also mean elevation of privileges, so you also need to have your infrastructure like very locked down, and as I said, don't trust yourself with so much as a password. And third-party risk management, because if you are, nowadays, almost all of us are using APIs from other third parties, other companies, and other companies are using us. This is another thing that you have to, you are entitled to assess their security posture and see if they are putting all the mechanisms in place to see if they are aligned with your principles. And then it helps you decide if you are engaging in businesses with them. And you should do this periodically as well to see if they are still, indeed, like this very last week, I heard a lot of attacks that came from third parties, providers. You might want to take a look at them, keep an eye on them. They are going to keep an eye on you as well, so that's normal. It's not that we don't trust each other, but we should not trust each other. So, of course, if you have a security champions program whatsoever, what measure or even talk about security between you, if you are in a small company, this is always a win. I mean, I really encourage you to there are a lot of podcasts and YouTube channels. There are a lot of talks nowadays in the conferences that are talking about security. I really, really, really recommend you to just go there and look what's in store. It's very interesting and it's very fascinating. And of course, sometimes it's stressful, but it's fascinating. So, okay, if you did all your homework, you will have them crying and they will decide to go elsewhere because it will be easier to hack somebody else than your company. So, thank you. I don't know. I think I'm done my time, but if you have some questions, now is a coffee break. I'm better at short distances, so whatever. I don't know if we have, yes, 5 minutes? Okay, if somebody has a question, be gentle on me. But here.
Do you have any recommendations for a tool that automatically checks my APIs? Or maybe an online tool?
What?
A tool? Do you have a recommendation for an online tool or a normal tool that checks my APIs for vulnerability?
Vulnerabilities.
Yes.
I mean, you have these scanners that you can. They are like this intrusion detection and intrusion prevention tools that are also detecting if someone is coming, And maybe you also have like on application level, you have like a tool that is called RASP that you can plug it in, and it's also not only preventing inbound, but also from your own systems if there is a misuse. And the webs are also scanning all the time. They have also anti-bot detection, maybe. There are there are a lot of toys in the market. You just have to see what you need. I mean, don't get crazy on buying everything. Just know what you need to actually observe, and then decide on it. I don't know if I answer your question.
More or less, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Do you hear me? So thank you. First, thank you for your presentation. It's very interesting and clear. And my question is, regarding your experience, how you decide which, because I saw that there are a lot of API gateway, no? So regarding your experience, how you chose which is the best for your company in this case, or for if you have an application, how you decide which one you need to use?
Yeah, I see. Well, in case you're asking, I mean, we're a big company, so we can handle a big product such as RPG from Google. It's a very complex but a very interesting platform. I still find that they have a room for improvement. Every product has. But I have been taking a look at maybe Gravity or Kong, but it depends on the budget. So this is why I didn't want to, I'm going not to try to address a certain product because it depends on your budget. And maybe if you don't have the budget to even have a API platform, you can use these capabilities separated and use some open source and free software that is laying around there. So maybe you should see what you need, what your budget is, and then you can ask for demos, and then you can ask for prices, and then decide which is best for you. But they're getting really good at the controls. They might be differences between what they call, because in RPG they call this API products and API processes, and we have shared flows, which is you group a lot of security policies together and reuse them. But maybe other platforms don't have this, but have other capabilities. I mean, there are in GraphQL, I think Gravity is good at controlling GraphQL, but if you're using GraphQL, do it carefully, because this is another. But I mean, these products have different capabilities and are better at some. And a lot of them also don't post vendor locking, so you might want to take a look at each one of them, Yeah, I suggest. Yes. Okay. So thank you.